Hi, FlossTube. It's been not that long this time. It's only been like 4 days. I wanted to shoot a video. There's a couple of reasons I wanted to shoot a video. I think I want to talk a little bit more about um, the Be Well and Stitch movement today. I touched on it in my last video, but I kind of wanted to go in a little bit more depth on what I'm planning on doing. I kind of wanted to show you maybe how I put together one of these floss books. That could be in case it's helpful to anybody else. And I know that on the last video, I talked about one of the whips that I had stitched on, but I actually never showed my progress on it because I don't know why. My mind was somewhere else. But yeah, and then I don't have a game for you, but I have something gaming related that I want to share with y'all. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. I'm trying to get into some sort of routine again. I'm not making any promises, but I do like filming on Mondays, so I'm going to try that and see if I can't do that for this month. I should be able to, but our life is still pretty much the same. My husband's at work today, and I'm here shooting a FlossTube video, so trying to maintain some sense of normalcy in a not normal world. I did go to town on Saturday and pick up groceries like I said I needed to do. I placed a pickup order through Walmart and just we went my husband and I went in and just sat in our car while they loaded our groceries. My husband had placed an online order at the pet store. And they didn't have it pulled yet, so he went in to get that taken care of. But I stayed in the car then too, and then we went for a car wash, which of course both of us stayed in the car during that. So that was my big Saturday outing, sitting in the car. But that was fine. We got the stuff we needed, and I was good with that. And then yesterday we stayed home and played board games, so that was fun. I did want to talk about something else that's kind of upheaved our life. I don't want to say that because it's not that bad and none of my family was really affected, but the town that I grew up in was hit by a tornado on Saturday, late afternoon, just after 5 o'clock. It destroyed, I think the number was around 50 houses. That might be wrong, but that sounds right to me. It destroyed about 50 houses that are going to have to be rebuilt. It destroyed our mall, and basically it hit what is the busiest part of town now. I mean, the bonus is a lot of these stores were closed. Like, it totally destroyed our Barnes & Noble, but they were not open. JCPenney was not open. And luckily there were no casualties in what probably could have been a pretty horrific time had it been a normal Saturday where people were eating out and shopping and doing their normal Saturday activities. So extremely lucky. Like I said, my family all lives on, this is the town that I run my gaming group in. I've talked about that a little bit. I live about 2 hours away, but my family still all lives there. The tornado went fairly close to where my parents live. We have some really, really close family friends that it probably wasn't a mile away from where they were. It was pretty extremely close. And, it's just hard when Jonesboro, Arkansas, that's the town, in case you want to look it up. And I may link our local TV station down there just so you can see the story there. I've talked about it a little bit on my Facebook page, but it was just, I was following along with what I could while it was happening because obviously I was concerned for my family. We were under a tornado watch, but it never progressed into a warning where I'm at. And, it's just scary. But yeah, like I said, luckily there weren't any fatalities and there were not any life-threatening injuries. I don't know. They are saying there were 22 minor injuries. So for a tornado to hit in that area of town, that's pretty amazing. They said that it was on the ground for between 10 and 20 miles. And so yeah, I just kind of wanted to speak on it because it's kind of heavy on my mind right now. I grew up in that town. We spent a lot of time under a tornado watch and tornado warning, and it's, you know, there'd been some minor damage from time to time, but for this kind of thing, this is pretty devastating to the actual epicenter of our town. And, you know, with all of the other jobs that are already on the line because of coronavirus, it just adds a layer to that. But, you know, as a lot of people have pointed out, it's kind of ironic that the virus may have saved some lives during this time. So we can be thankful for that, I guess. It's just kind of a double-edged sword. You know, it's one of those things, but I just kind of, because it's so heavy on my mind, I just wanted to speak to it for a minute. And you know, my thoughts are definitely with the people that are affected. Luckily, my family's not really been affected. I mean, like, no damage to any of their property. Everybody was out of the path. So but you know, it's scary when you're watching that. And as far as I know, nobody that I even really know was affected. I know that one of my friend's neighborhood was hit, but his house wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebuild from this. It's not the first time a major tornado has hit Jonesboro, but the others were before I was born. So one was the year I was born, and the other one was like 4 or 5 years before that. That was pretty devastating. Both of those were pretty devastating. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to speak on it because it's heavy on my mind. And those of you that live around tornadoes, you'll kind of, or Tornado Alley, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Whenever you get that tornado warning and you find out that something's on the ground, it's frightening. But you know, luckily we escaped with a little injury, which is a benefit, especially in this time. So they were talking about, I watched the press conference that they did, the mayor and county judge and some other officials in the area did on Saturday morning, and they said there is kind of this extra layer with the cleanup because, you know, there's still the social distancing orders because of coronavirus. So it just adds a little bit of complexity to an already fairly complex situation. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that it'll be. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. It's hard to talk about this, and I'm going to try not to break down and cry because it's my hometown. You know, I mean, it's even though I haven't lived there since my daughter was really young, that's where I spent most of my life at. So it's hard. But anyway, I thought I'm going to move on now to my whips. I thought I would share the one I talked about last week that I didn't have the name of the designer either, so I have that now too. This is Mushroom House. The designer is Ekaterina Tchaikovskaya. I think that's probably not right, but that is at least an approximation. And I bought this at mybobbin.com. I will put a link down in the description. I have not worked on it since I talked about it on Wednesday, but like I said, I just totally forgot to show my progress because my mind was not with it, I guess. So, ooh, my needle fell out. Let me put that over there. I'll do this. So, I worked a lot of this area here. A lot of the ecru and then a little bit of the pink and yellow. It's so pretty. I really like it. This is one of my Christmas cross-stitch presents from 2018 that I have not made as much progress on as I had hoped, but nobody's really surprised by that. I do have an Instagram hashtag that I use for it. It's like Christmas Cross Stitch 2018 or something along those lines. I will put the actual hashtag down in the description box in case you're interested in following along with my progress on the 11 projects that 12 quite a few projects that I have going on that are gifts for family members that they chose from a selection that I gave them. I still have a couple that I haven't even started. It's a process. That's what I was trying to say. But I haven't been using that hashtag, but I really want to start using it again. So I'm going to go ahead and link it down in the description. And then the other one that I did do some work on since, I think it was Wednesday that I shot my last video, Star Wars Dogfight. This is another one of the Christmas presents. This is Awesome Pattern Studio on Etsy. And I didn't get a whole lot done, but I got, I got about 30 stitches done this weekend up there. It's just been rough stitching. I don't know. I need to figure out how to get back into the groove, I guess. I'm just having a real hard time with it. And part of what I'm going to talk about coming up will hopefully help a little bit. I'm going to talk about it now, actually. The Be Well and Stitch movement that's happening on Instagram and Facebook and all over the interwebs. I talked about this a little bit on my last video, and I kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit more. I have mentioned that my husband's still working, but we've always been on a bit of a limited budget, and I'm certainly not spending now because who knows what the future is going to bring. He works in healthcare, so right now things feel pretty stable, but he's not frontline, so who knows. I had this idea that I wanted to take a pattern every day from the Be Well and Stitch movement and start it on each day of April. So that'll be 30 starts. I'll kind of show you, because I didn't really last time show kind of what I'm working with. I mean, a lot of this is like just a 6x6 piece of Fiddler's Aida. This is probably the largest piece I have in here. This is also Aida. This looks like a 14 count. This I think was a 16 count. A lot of my pieces, and so some of these things I might just be stitching, like a lot of my pieces are just little tiny. This is like maybe 4x6. I may stitch just like a motif from it, just to be able to have something from it. It may not be the whole piece. That's what I was trying to say. But there's lots of gorgeous stuff that's out there, and I've downloaded probably 60 plus things. This is another bigger piece, but it's a 12 by 12 piece, something like that. That's probably about the biggest size that I have is 12 by 12. This might be, yeah, about 12 by 12. But most of my things are like that. So, these are remnants that either I had left over after I've cut off stuff for a project, or that I bought as remnants from a local needlework shop that I used to go to back in the early 2000s in St. Louis. That is no longer, St. Charles actually, that is no longer there. I'm using what I have because I'm not shopping right now. I will probably switch some of the colors out. I'm stitching all DMC because that's what I stitch with. And yeah, some of the colors have to be stitched out. I have a lot of DMC. I definitely don't have all of the colors, but with the goal of, after things settle down and things are a little bit back to normal, I am going to do what I can to patronize local needlework shops and spend some money then there, because then hopefully, I mean, if we don't take too much of a hit off of anything. So I mean, to say I'm worried is kind of an understatement, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I have a Be Well and Stitch hashtag, Be Well and Stitch SAL, SAL, that I'm going to be using, or BWASSAL is actually I've kind of shortened it, that I will be posting to on Instagram. If you're stitching the Be Well and Stitch thing, even if you're not doing a new start every day, if you're doing, I know people have talked about doing a bunch of them just on one piece of fabric, and somebody had suggested the hashtag to me of Be Well and Stitch Sampler. I mean, if I were doing that, I think that's an awesome hashtag, but that's not what I'm doing. And if you are doing that and you want to use that hashtag, I think you should, but I would also love it if you used the BWASSAL hashtag if you're doing any of the Be Well and Stitch stuff. It doesn't have to be garbage is running out. And that is the downside to Monday, is I don't always think about waiting until after the garbage truck runs. So there's always this weird noise in the background. Sorry about that. But yeah, I don't want it to be just for the people doing new starts. If you want to use that hashtag, use that hashtag. If you're doing any of the Be Well and Stitch stitches. Some great stuff out there. Barbara Anna released a fox with a lantern last night that I literally gasped when I saw it pop up on Instagram, and I had to go download it right away. Don't know if I have a big enough piece to start that right now, but that might be one of the things that I'll buy a piece of fabric for once all of this settles down. And all of that. Like I said, I've downloaded 60 that I just can't wait to start, and obviously I'm gonna have some of those left over after the 30 days. So yeah, I'm excited. It'll give me, something to do. I talked about this last time. I'm thinking about doing kind of a stitch with me, where 10 or 15 minutes of me starting the project. And I'll share what project I'm starting, and stitch and talk to y'all for like 15 minutes, just as a way to kind of connect right now, because it's been kind of weird. So kind of let y'all know where we're at, and a way to check in with y'all. And I'm not going to promise that it's going to be every day, but I'm going to try. And I'd also still like to do my regular FlossTube videos on Mondays. We'll see. Like I said, I can't make promises because I break them if I do, but I will try. That's pretty much it. I think I counted 32 pieces of varying sizes, and then I have this. I'll take this out. I didn't think to do that. It's because I'm not even 100% sure how big or how wide this is. So yeah, I could get a couple of smaller. That's about half the size right there. I could get a couple of smaller things out of this one. I'm actually going to take that out of the tube and put it in the bin. See, it's just in this bin here with my other, so I don't forget about it. So that's enough for 34 projects or so. I don't think there's very many that can actually be cut down unless I cut one of those 12 by 12 pieces into small ones. But I think I'm going to use those for some of the bigger pieces. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this all out. But every day I'm either going to start a new project, or I'm going to work on a little motif from one of the projects, because some of them have a bunch of stuff that I could pull from. And I will not have much fabric when this is all done. But that like I said, this summer I'll get to go, maybe hopefully everything will be open and I can go to some of the not so local needlework shops and order some stuff online and build up my small stash. Like I said, I don't have a lot of room, so my stash is always going to be small unless something changes. So that is that. If you want to join me, I would love that. I feel like I'm rambling again. I think that's just what I do. Now, yeah, I would love to have you join them. Like I said, the hashtag will be down in the description box. And yeah, just feel free to follow along and post to it if you are working on any of the Be Well and Stitch projects. I am excited because I think it's going to help me stitch. It may not. It's like I said, my focus has been pretty bad, so having something to look forward to every day might help. We'll see. It may all fall apart too, but that's fine. I'm going to share, I've shared some of these floss books with you before. These are, well, the first two are like the medium size that I make, which is done with a half sheet of felt. I just blanket stitched this. I didn't even use a sewing machine. I just blanket stitched using embroidery floss to the edge. And then the inside is right there. I'm missing one of the colors. I probably used it all up and haven't replaced it yet. This is my colors for, this is the Star Wars Dogfight one. And this one I only have the one piece of felt and the one piece, and then I just glue it together. You'll see how my process in a second. I could put this in one that's half size. You can fit 5 in one that's basically this size, which is what I'm going to be showing you today. But that's just one piece of felt and then a piece of paper in the middle. This one is for the mushroom house, and it is, I do need to fill it. So I've got quite a bit more floss on these pages, and I have basically 2 pieces of cardstock and my outside felt and an inside piece of felt. So this will hold quite a bit more than this one will, but this was one of my early ones, and I was just trying to get stuff in the things. This one is done with, this one I stitched with the sewing machine. It's just faster. If I set up my sewing machine, that's the problem, is I have to take the time to set up my sewing machine because it's not in a permanent spot. So I have to bring it into the kitchen and make sure I can get everything I want to get done in time to clear it back off before dinner time. But I sewed up a whole bunch of these, and I thought I would show you how I actually stitch it. I use a pamphlet stitch. So this is the small one. So this is a 1/4 sheet of felt. So it's a piece of felt that's been cut into quarters, and I've just machine stitched with a zigzag stitch a piece of quilting fabric to the outside, and then I take a piece of cardstock that is, it could be a little bit bigger than this, but you want it to be smaller because when you fold it, it's going to push itself out a little bit. So let's see if I can actually do this. And I just kind of center it on the piece, and then I have the fold that kind of helps me. And then I take a piece of embroidery floss. This is 3 strands, and you want it to be about 3 times the height of your book. And then I'm going to start, this is going to be kind of hard, but we're going to see. This is normally something I would want to do with an overhead camera. So start in the middle-ish. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is definitely not perfect. Start in the middle, pull it through. You want to leave a bit of a tail because we're going to tie a knot or a bow. And then we're going to come through the outside. It's much easier if you use clips, but I didn't think to actually grab my clips. So right there, I've come in at the top. This is going to be real hard to see. Okay. It is definitely easier if you're only using 1 piece of cardstock. Then I'm going to go down towards the bottom. Like I said, it's easier with clips, and it's easier if you pay attention. This is a sharp needle. It is not a tapestry needle. You pull it back through. There are people out there that do tutorials on pamphlet stitch that have a much better setup than me, but this gives you a quick idea. And then we're going to try to go back into the area that I first went through to begin with. And then it helps if you make sure you don't have a long tail. So then we're just going to take this off the needle, and I still have lots of floss. I probably don't need quite as much. And then this is going to be the hard part that's tricky. I'm going to take the 2 tails, and I'm just going to tie a tight knot. And then I'm just going to, y'all all know how to tie a bow. I'm just going to tie a bow because it's going to be easier for me to do it down on the table. I'll show it when I'm done. Of course, that didn't work. One of my tails was much longer than the other. I probably did not leave quite as much as I should have when I first leave a longer tail than I did. How's that? But I got it now. Okay. I'm going to snip the short end, or the long end, I mean. So there's my bow in the middle. And then you'll just take this right here, and you're going to glue this edge so that you have basically a really thick page. And then you can put your flosses. You can fit 5 pretty easily on one side. And I just write the number to correspond to where the floss is. And do, you know, it'll hold 10 pieces of floss pretty easily. I know that's not the best. I don't have a great setup for doing that, but I just kind of wanted to show you in case it's helpful to any of you how I do that. There are, like I said, if you look up pamphlet stitch, you'll find better tutorials where people have the camera in the right angle to really show you what they're doing. But for this works perfectly fine. I if I finish with a project, it's easy enough to cut this piece out, redo it, and start over. Like I said, I've done some with plastic inserts that I can take the paper out and put it back. And I'd like to start doing that again, but I really just wanted to make sure I had these in all of my project bags as quickly as possible. And this is the easiest way to do it quickly. So it's just with paper and sewing it. It takes a little bit of time to do the plastic. It's a little bit harder. I use scrapbook page protectors, and then I have what's called a fuse tool, which is put out by our memory keepers, that will actually seal the edges of 2 pieces of the page protector to make a pocket. So if I get it set up to where I can show that, I will, but I'm going to have to get a different setup with my camera. I have done overhead before. It's just been a while, so I have to remember how I did that. But yeah, I like it. It works really well for me, because then I can just pull as I need from my bigger set of flosses and just pull the 1 strand out that I need. Or, you know, it's like the length of 6 strands. Sorry, that's what I meant. So it works really well for me. That's how I do that. I know it wasn't the best, but like I said, hopefully it gives you an idea. And I wanted to share that, and I'll continue sharing as I elaborate on the process. It's good for me to have those in my project bags, because it makes it easier for me. I have all of the threads I need. I don't have to go and pull out everyone. My big issue is I was pulling out bags and putting them in other things, and then I couldn't find the colors I needed when I needed them, because I had 25 projects on the go. So this is easy. I know when I need to replenish a thread because it's running low in my big set of flosses, and that works super well for me. So yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about, like I said, I don't have a game this time, but I wanted to talk to you about a game service called Tabletopia. I actually backed this on Kickstarter years ago when it first came out, and I had a premium membership for a while, but I don't right now, and I'm actually thinking about re-upping it. But you can do a lot of gaming on it without a premium membership. A lot of the games are free, totally free. I think you may have to sign up to set up a game, but you don't have to pay anything. And then even some of the games that have premium content that costs money, like their 2-player games, are free. So you can try it out and see if you like it without paying for it. There's a free button you can click on. There's drop-down menus. Like, there's a lot of classic games, and I don't think any of these were behind any sort of a paywall or anything. So like Go and chess and checkers and Pachisi and these games. There's some card games like Spades and Hearts and stuff like that as well. Bridge. So you can, it's a good way, it's all done over the internet, it's a web interface. So it's a good way you can play games with people that aren't across the table from you, which is kind of important right now. And one of the reasons I'm kind of thinking about maybe going back to a premium membership at some point. But like I said, there's a lot of content, even if there's also like fast and fun and easy to learn. So if you pull down the drop down box, there's lots of different categories that'll help you find the game that's right for you. There's real easy, simple to learn games in there, and there's really complex games in there. There's a lot of Vital Lacerda games, who his games definitely verge on the complex. I've played a few of them. I enjoy them, but I've not played any on Tabletopia, and I imagine because there's so many pieces, it would take a while to figure it all out, especially if you haven't played it before. But yeah, if you go to the easy to learn or fast and fun, you'll probably find some games that'll be easier to get into, to learn the interface. And then if you want to hit up some of the more complex games, I think that's fun. I've played quite a few games over the years, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. It's not as easy as just picking up a piece on the table in front of you and placing it down where you want to, but it works basically at the same time. It's sandbox. You get to move pieces. Like, there's no, if you've played digitized games before, sometimes it won't let you place pieces where you're not supposed to. So this doesn't do that. It's just, you put your piece down just like if you were playing in a real game. There's nothing saying you can't put that there. So it allows you to do house rules and stuff too if you want to do that. So yeah, I really enjoy it. I'll put the link down below, and I may put the link to some games that I think are maybe a little easier to play on that kind of interface, if I can remember to do that. I think you're going to be really good with some of the classic games that you may already know, like I said, chess or checkers. Because if you start with already knowing how to play the game, then learning how to use the interface becomes easier. And once you learn how to use the interface, then learning new games. And the rule books are all in there, so you don't have to like go to a different website to find the rule book. You just click on a thing on the screen and it'll show you the rule book. If you click on a game, it'll tell you there's a website. I link to it on all of my board game descriptions down below, called Board Game Geek. So it links to that page, which you can find out more information about the game, like how long it takes, how many players it plays, a description of the game, people. There's like forums and all of that. Every game has people talking about it. But yeah, Tabletopia, it's a pretty amazing way to play games with people that you can't see face to face right now. And as gamers, I'm fairly appreciative of it. You know, like I said, I already live 2 hours away from my gaming group, so I've used it on numerous occasions. I haven't used it as much in the recent past, but I'm looking to maybe play games. It's also a good way to try out games before you buy the physical copy, because a lot of games are on there now. Not every one, obviously. There's like 800 and some games though, so there's quite a few. And I think that's all I have for you today. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff still, but I feel like this was a super scattered video, which might be the case for the next month anyway. I hope you are all well. I hope y'all are staying safe, and hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday with a little short stitch with me. Like I said, I'm excited to start stitching some of these patterns because they are amazing. The designers have just blown me away with what they've come out with. Like I said, I've downloaded like 60 plus, and I've heard that there's over 100 of these patterns that are available for download. So, and you know, I've downloaded the things that I think I might stitch, which I've probably missed some, but yeah, 60 is still more than I'll get to do in April. But
okay, are you here? Do I have a moment still? Am I interrupting you?
Right at the very end. My daughter was supposed to play a video game with her cousin, and she's been waiting on him. So I was like, "Oh, this is a great time to shoot a video."
You could have warned me.
I thought you were playing. She's like, "You could have warned me." She's like, "Am I interrupting a video?" What?
I was just watching random stuff on YouTube.
She was watching random stuff on YouTube, as we all do. So she just came out just announcing that she was going to find something to eat. Oh, goodness. Okie dokie. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap it up because I am not reshooting this. Y'all have a great week, great day. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully. Bye.